All right. Anything else more to see in this joint?
Yeah. Lights up there. That's usually what happens is this actually lights up too. I don't know if that's, let's see if that'll light up there. You might not have it plugged in right now. No. I don't know why that doesn't light up anymore.
Oh, so I see that crazy shaped door here.
Huh?
I see that crazy shaped door here.
Yeah.
So that must be.
That's the Star Trek room.
That's kind of what
You know, well, see, you and me, we're the same. We don't know about like Star Wars, but you know, there was the actress that played Princess Leia. Anyway, her mother was also an actress, and this was she was wearing this outfit when she was performing in Las Vegas.
Oh yeah.
And the guy Eric that works on the fiberglass stuff, his mother went to go see the show there, and when she was like singing and going through the aisles, part of the rhinestones fell off. So the mother picked them up, and then after the show, she went over and she says, "Hey, you know, these fell off your outfit." So the lady says, "Oh, that's so nice of you to bring them back to me, because now the outfit is, you know, not ruined." She says, "When I'm done with this, give me your address and I'll send you the
Really?
blouse." So she
Yeah.
sent it to her. Yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah. So
All right.
anyway.
So where's the magic button?
Oh, well, the magic button was over here, but what we did is...
So there was one, huh?
Oh, yeah. And what the problem was, like, I had it hooked up to a battery charger, but it didn't have enough amperage to pull the motor. I used a Mercedes power antenna motor. And then what I did is I made a setup with pulleys, so that when you pull this one, it pulls the other cable the other direction, and it opens. So it works off one motor, and it opens both.
Oh, well, that's pretty slick setup.
We have another thing here someplace. This here, I never could get this to work. Oh no, that's the exit sign. I don't know where this thing is. We have this thing that John, one of the guys that he used to work in the office, he found some sound effects thing, and it had the sound effects for when they open the door. Oh, here's the button. Here's the button. But we don't have it hooked
So I
up
made
now.
the sound effects too.
Yeah, but so I had it, and it was like a motion sensor, and I couldn't ever get the thing to synchronize right. It would do it like 5 minutes later.
Yeah.
So yeah, he has all kinds of stuff. This is actually, we were talking earlier about the AMT models. So when they did the AMT Speed and Custom in Phoenix, one of the things they got involved in doing was they had a fleet of new Chevrolets that they could was for use for promotion for motion pictures and television. So they made a brochure that they sent out to Hollywood, and they said, "Hey, if you need any, and we have a whole fleet of Chevrolet vehicles at your disposal, but if you need anything special done, we can do that too." So what ended up, they had some of Gene's custom work there, and so what they also did was they made special vehicles. So he did like Don Adams' Get Smart. He did, of course, the Man from U.N.C.L.E. spy car, and what happened was they would build the real car for very minimal amount of money, but they got the rights to make it into a model kit, so they got free publicity.
Yeah.
So one of the things they made was for the original Star Trek series, they made the Galileo landing craft, and Gene built two of them full size. One was just the exterior, and one was just the interior. And then they built the model kit of this. But what they did was how the exterior would work is they would just have it where they'd already have this on the set, and maybe they might have the doors open and the guys coming out. but you'd always just see the exterior of it. Then when they would film the interior, there was no exterior on that set. And what it would be is, say, like maybe Kirk is here and Spock is here. They would have what they call wild walls, and they would take these walls out, and these walls would remain. So when they're filming this way, you see a background here. Then they would do all the filming with this. When you see like a conversation in the movies, it's not all happening live action at the same time. They might do all the lines that Spock says one day, put this wall back, take this wall out, and have all the lines that Kirk says the next day. So that they could make this whole set so they could disassemble it. Then they could put those together and maybe put the front, take the front out, and then you see the both of them together. So most of these movie props, basically what they were in sets, after the production was done, they'd just destroy them. They had no use, really. So somehow the Galileo escaped, and there was a kid that his parents had money, and you remember the neighborhood Brentwood that you'd hear about with O.J. Simpson and all that, lived in Brentwood. Anyway, so there was a kid there that was a fan of the show at the time, and somehow his father had some connections with the studio, and he got the Galileo landing craft, and it was sitting in their yard in this expensive neighborhood, and of course, you know, the neighbors are complaining about it.
Oh, no way.
So eventually they had, and it was sitting there just in the weather. It was never designed, you know, it was just designed to be a movie prop, you know. So it was starting to deteriorate and fall apart. So somehow the guy sold it or whatever, and it ended up in the Midwest. And eventually, maybe about 10 years ago, the people sold it or restored it. But they, Gene had a few extra pieces that he had made up left over from it, and he sold them those pieces, and he had the information, you know, what they needed to restore it. So they restored it. And John, who was working in the office at the time, Gene was going to the Houston Autorama, and John was making arrangements for his flight, for Gene's flight, and he told him, hey, Gene, you know, why don't I arrange so you can go for a day or two early? There's more information about that that's kind of interesting. But anyway, so he says, why don't you go for that? Well, I'll either go a few days early or a few days stay over. And because he says, I just read that they're going to have the Galileo that's all restored at the Houston Space Center Museum. So Gene says, well, call ahead and see if I need any special ID because it's a government place and all this. So anyway, so he called and he told him, yeah, Gene Winfield, he built the original for the series and they restored it. So then they said, well, we'll have a Gene Winfield day and we'll interview him and all that. So he went out there one day and they had all that. And he's got pictures, you know, with Spock. And this is Kirk sitting in the reactor. Kirk up here. They filmed this, I think this is a cemetery next to Paramount Studios where it was filmed. And
yeah, that's pretty neat stuff,
yeah,
man.
1966,
you know?
67. Then this here, you know, we're right near Edwards Air Force Base, which is where they landed. They used to land the space shuttle there at Edwards. If they couldn't land it in Florida, if the weather was bad, they'd arrange to land it in California. And one of our friends that works at the base there, he works for NASA, he says it costs $1 million extra for them to land in California because they have to ship the landing crew here and to ship it over to back to Florida to relaunch it and all that. But anyway, so we have some friends that work over there at the base that are car guys. So one of our friends was cleaning out his garage and he says, hey, Gene, he says, here's something you need for your collection in your museum. This is what they call the IFR, when they fly on instruments, you know, like in the clouds and everything. This is part of the gear, like the gyros that run the thing. And this is for a U-2 spy plane.
Really?
Yeah, from 1962. The U-2 spy plane from one that they had. So he says it's legal to own. Just don't tell them who you got it from. I don't want to get hassled. He says, you know, we got it legally, but.
Oh, look at that.
And then here we got I'll get out of your way here, but this is going someplace that you've never been before, you know. So
Wow, we.
The boldly go where no one has gone, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, that's what they said on Star Trek, But,
Oh, well, oh, shoot.
that's, I know, it says something like that. I don't know, I'm not really a Trekkie.
I'm gonna cut this out again. Me, this guy, never watched the freaking Star Wars, Star Trek, anything kind of movie.
Here, I got some light over here, too. Oh. And then these were all, the top futuristic designer did these, Sid Mead. And he, an interesting guy, he just passed away a couple of years ago. But he used to design all this futuristic stuff, and originally he worked for Ford Motor Company in the 50s, and he took a couple of months off, and he went and he did a catalog for the U.S. Steel Company, and they did a hardbound book that would go out to all their major purchasers, General Electric and all those companies. So they had like a gift, like a promotional thing that was called the U.S. Steel Catalog, and they had all these beautiful illustrations. And anyway, so the Sid Mead, he comes back from his hiatus, and they call him in the office, and the guy's got the book sitting there on the desk, and he opens it, and he shows it. He goes, "Hey, look through this book." And of course, Sid Mead, did the book, did the illustrations. So he says, so the guy closes the book and tells him, he says, "Hey, I can tell this is your work. You're really supposed to be working for Ford Motor Company. Like, we pay you enough. You don't need to take on side jobs. So you got the choice of continuing to work here and don't do side work, or you could do if you quit, you could do whatever you want." So he decided to quit, and he says the first 2 jobs he did, he made more than he made at Ford the whole year.
Yes.
And then I'm not sure if this is actually supposed to be like the bridge on the Enterprise, whatever. But our friend Eric there, he does a lot of movie car stuff. He built this for Gene and surprised him the morning. He showed up about 5 in the morning, and he and another guy, they came in. That was before Gene was living here in the museum. And we were having our car show that day, and they were going to have the grand opening of the museum. And so they came in at 5 in the morning, and they moved this in.
Really?
And this is on wheels.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty.
This moves around on wheels, and then this folds down here. This wall, this piece flips up, and that's the legs, and this is a bed for guest room. But this is
so that's the bed.
Yeah, that's the bed. And they moved this out of the way. But he has this, so some of these things, they all have like little LEDs, and they light up and stuff.
Yeah.
And my nephew, I was telling you, was a Pixar animator, and he worked on stuff like The Incredibles, things like that. So my Uncle Don, my dad's friend, he used to take me to the car shows and stuff. So my nephew's about 12 years younger than me, so he was about 14 or so, and Don and I went to they had a car show and auction. So we went to go look at it, and they had some cars on display there, classic cars and hot rods. So Gene had just done the Star Wars movie, the Blade Runner movie, and he had a couple of cars he did 25 cars for Blade Runner. So
25?
25 various different, they had like taxi cabs and little buses and police cars, all these various things. So anyway, he had these cars there that were basically movie props, And so my nephew saw these things, So then later, after my nephew got into filmmaking, but he was always my nephew was like a movie guy, He's like we are with cars. He could tell you, this guy produced it, this guy directed it, this cost this much money, he did it this year, all those kind of things. He knows all that stuff. So he got into movie making, And when he did his own live action films, we needed some stuff with mainframe computers in the background. So they got 2 real ones, and then they did full-size photographs. And we did the same thing with the lights. And he tells me, he says, you know, he says, I look back on when I was a kid and you guys took me to go see the Blade Runner cars. He says, I was looking at them thinking how cheesy they look in real life, but how great they looked in the movie. He says, and I knew what I could get away with when I started making movies. So it kind of came in handy, you know. So, but yeah, this here, I don't know how this